wars that are developing into a bigger one in the long run. So that is also reminding us in a certain way of how the 30 Years' War had been fought 400 years ago. Of course, that is not very hopeful for the conflicts in the northern part of Africa and in the Middle East. But I want to end my speech at least with one positive thing to look at, and that is the fact that there is one tradition from the end of the 30 Years' War which people are connecting to, and that is happening in the town of Nuremberg, which has presented itself during the last couple of decades as a city of human rights, following the very negative history, of course, especially during the Nazi dictatorship. So Nuremberg is now awarding a human rights award every 2 years, and part of the celebrations is a peace banquet which had been carried out for the first time in 1649 after the Treaty of Westphalia, when all the war participants were meeting once more in Nuremberg in the town hall here, as you can see, to negotiate the conditions of demobilization of the armies, which worked very successful and was then the very last point to end the 30 Years' War. And that is something that since a couple of years is done in Nuremberg again to commemorate that. So whenever a new human rights award is handed out, the people of Nuremberg are invited to join a large banquet, basically, which is taking place in public in summertime. And that shows, in my opinion, that it is indeed possible, even with an event like the 30 Years' War, to find a positive connection point, the way that the people of Nuremberg have managed to do that. Thank you very much for your attention. Yeah, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I know a lot of information in a rather short amount of time, and for this reason I want to invite you that we take at least some minutes for your questions. I'm sure you have some on your mind. Sir, please.
Thank you for your presentation. It's very enlightening. People in general have a warring tendency. What kept England out of the conflicts?
Pardon? Can you repeat that once more?
What kept
England out of the conflict? Yeah, that's a very interesting point. Quite naturally, you should have expected that the King of England would actually interfere on the side of the Winter King, of Frederick V, because his daughter was married to him, but he never really did that. He provided some funds, but obviously he was concerned that this conflict, that England might be drawn into the conflict in a way that it wouldn't benefit the country. Of course, there was also still the conflict with Spain, for example, which might have escalated once again between England and Spain, so that might have played a role. But obviously the King of England was very careful. He never wanted to fully commit in that conflict. It provided some financial support, but never to the scale that it really mattered for the rebels in Bohemia, for example.
Exactly how did the Swedes get to that castle?
Yeah, how did the Swedes get to that castle in Würzburg? Well, like I said, these very powerful walls that you see today, they were actually built only after the 30 Years' War, because it had been obviously rather easy to storm that. What they usually did is, with a castle on the hill like that, they tried to dig tunnels to the lower walls and then to blow them up and to enter that way. As far as I know, that was also done in this case, and obviously the resistance of the defenders was not strong enough. It didn't take very long, and then all the 700 of them were killed. Sir?
Did the Ottoman Empire respond in any way during the...
Did the Ottoman Empire respond in any way? That's a very interesting point. There was a peace treaty signed before 1618 between the Turkish Sultan and the Emperor in Vienna. And many historians say that is only what enabled the Emperor to lead such a long war in the West. Had there been the danger of an Ottoman invasion during this period, the Emperor probably would have looked for peace and for compromise much earlier. So that's often the case in history at that time. If you have peace on the one side, that opens up opportunities for war on another side, and that's probably one of the reasons why the 30 Years' War was so long, because the Ottoman Empire didn't really play a big role militarily at that point. Yeah, I'll be here a little longer, so if anything comes up to your mind, feel free to approach me. And other than that, thank you and enjoy your afternoon. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Well, after 3 years,